Welcome back, everybody. Big news this morning in the NFL. Former NFL Commissioner Paul Tagliabue announced dead near the end of the NFL's Berlin game. And funny enough, he became commissioner 4 days before the Berlin Wall fell. He became commissioner November 5th. Remember the 5th of November, 1989. 4 days later, the Berlin Wall falls, November 9th, 1989. Of all days to have a Berlin game, it was today, November 9th, 2025, the 36th anniversary. The Falcons fell to 3-6. We'll talk more about it. Congrats to the winners. We had Colts to win this morning and become 6-0 at home during the 60th season when Indianapolis equals 60 like Berlin. Even though they're playing in Berlin, they're the designated home team, the Colts. And don't forget, the Colts moved to Indianapolis in 84, and they were playing the Falcons, who are from the 84th Meridian, as Tagliabue's dead at 84. But we also had Jonathan Taylor for 3 rushing touchdowns today for another nice payout. Again, you learn the knowledge we're talking about. You see right through this ritualism. You see right through the rig. And let's talk about it. Let's talk about all the things that stand out about Tagliabue's death. Again, just starting with the fact that he became NFL commissioner right before the Berlin Wall fell. We talked about this many a times. The day Sunday, the number 84, it's a high ritual number on this day in history. Paul Tagliabue is a Georgetown product. Years ago on a Sunday, John Thompson, who won the college basketball championship, the first black coach to do so in 84, he died in a very Jesuit ritual on a Sunday. And then they renamed the court after him 666 days later, if I remember correctly. I'd have to go back and double check that. It might have been 66 weeks and 6 days later or something like that. But anyway, if you're new here, gematria, the Kabbalistic practice of coding numbers into words. The alphabetic order with numerology, the reverse alphabetic order with numerology. These are the 4 base ciphers. You can see how Jesuit and Sunday overlap in 3 out of the 4. You can see that Tagliabue has the 78 and 33 connections, 78 like Jesuit, 33 like Sunday, the day that most NFL games are played. But yeah, his death announced right near the end of the game. If you forget, John Thompson died at age 78 on a Sunday while vacationing. Again, he won the championship for Georgetown in 84, where Tagliabue went to, the first Jesuit university in the U.S. And with regards to the Colts winning today in Berlin, they moved to Indianapolis in 1984. And again, Atlanta's on the 84th Meridian. You see how the Colts won 31-25? That's 56 points, right? I always talk about the Jesuits in 56. Tagliabue became commissioner on November 5th, the day leaving 56 days left in the year. You get 56 points in today's game, and we'll laugh again at how they tied it up at 25-25 with 25 seconds left. Remember, we're talking about the Falcons, the 25 team that Brady had the 25-point comeback over, and one of the worst NFL scripts of all time. It's amazing anybody still goes to these games. It's amazing anybody tries to argue they're not scripted. The NFL's been a really dumb sport for decades. I don't know how anyone falls for it. It's worse than the WWE. You see week after week where a team can't move the ball all game, but then they go to their 2-minute offense and they just go right down the field like it's nothing. You would think, well, if that's the way it works, why not just run the 2-minute offense all game, every game? Seemed like a no-brainer. Again, it's a no-brainer if you think the NFL, it means you don't have a brain if you think the NFL is anything but fixed. But anyway, yeah, he did become commissioner 4 days before the Berlin Wall fell, November 5th, 1989 to September 1st, 2006. We'll come back to that 9-1 date that he concluded and Roger Goodell took over, because today is 91 days before the Super Bowl. Remember, out of all the cities in America, only one equals 201, and it's Indianapolis. And by the way, it was Jim Irsay who moved the Colts to Indianapolis, and it was Jim Irsay who lobbied the NFL to start having a game in Berlin. And remember, Jim Irsay was a bit of a racist. Remember that kind of came out, just kind of like the small mustache guy in Germany. By the way, you guys know Germany's old flag had a black eagle in the middle, like the Falcons, a blackbird today, lost, fallen to 3-6 on the 36th anniversary of the fall of the wall. But yeah, Indianapolis, the only 201 city. Look how long Goodell was commissioner for. He started on the very special day to the Jesuits. Remember the 5th of November, the day in history they tried to assassinate King James. That goes with the Trump assassination hoax, and then him winning the rig selection last year on November 5th. It goes with the Charlie Kirk wife first TV interview on November 5th. Again, just these recurring dates. It goes with Trump burying his ex-wife after he killed her in a Jesuit ritual on the 201st day of the year, so on and so forth. But just look at it. The Jesuit order 201 and 84, Indianapolis 201. And just days ago, we had this. Let's make sure we don't already forget the name Marshawn Neeland, who just died at age 24, 24 days after Jerry Jones's birthday. But he also replaced Micah Parsons. And after his suspicious death was announced 2 hours later, they said it was police involved. He deleted himself after a high-speed chase. Something I didn't cover in that video because I didn't have it at the time. It was 201 days after Micah Parsons' birthday, who he replaced in the lineup, and notice where the police chase is. And then the same day that happened, the news that actually depressed people, because, people don't care about dead football players. They happen every week and almost nobody notices. But GTA was delayed. This really broke a lot of people's hearts. GTA 6, they delayed it, and they announced the delay. It'll be 54 weeks later. We'll get to that. It's always big with the Jesuits, but they announced the delay 201 days before it was supposed to release, when Rockstar Games is 201, and the new release date's 177 days later. Again, the Jesuit orders 177 forwards, 201 in reverse. Again, I'm just making the point about who's really behind everything, pretty much, that you see going on in the media, entertainment, news. The Jesuits run this nation. That's why the capital was moved to Washington, D.C., and the first recognized president in his storybooks is the year that Georgetown was established, 1789. 1989 was 200 years later, meaning they began the 201st year since moving the capital, the same year the Berlin Wall came down. But, Goodell was the commissioner for 201 months and days. Now dead as the Indianapolis ritual happens in Berlin, when it was Jim Irsay who wanted that game there. And don't forget what they did with Jim Irsay. He died 106 days before the first game of the 106th season. And remember what happened the day of the first NFL game, just before the Armani founder was announced dead. And he established the NFL, he established Armani in the 56th NFL season. Today's game, 56 points. Again, big number of the Jesuits. Remember the 5th of November, Goodell's first day on the job, the day leaving 56 days left in the year. The police chase with Neeland started on remember the 5th of November, the day leaving 56 days left in the year. But yeah, the Armani, their logo's the eagle. The Eagles won that day in the opener over Dallas, and the Eagles picked up their 106th home win versus their division, the NFC East, to start the 106th season, but the Armani guy had to die first. And notice how Armani's also 29 and 43 like football. Okay, so again, the Colts did move to Indy in 84. Atlanta is on the 84th Meridian West. These are the teams that played today in the Berlin game on the 36th anniversary of the Wall's fall, as Tagliabue's announced dead at 84. And some notable things about his history. He battled Arizona to recognize MLK Day. That's interesting, too, because Arizona equals 84. And don't forget what they did with MLK. Killed in an obvious Jesuit ritual. The Jesuits were created to counter the 95 Theses and Martin Luther. MLK's killed on the 95th day of the year. And then the nation's first major gun control legislation's 201 days later. Like from Martin Luther pinning the 95 Theses to the Jesuits being created was 201 months and days later. Just like how long Tagliabue was commissioner for. Same things all throughout history. But 56 points in the game today. The formal title of the Jesuits is Society of Jesus. Later today, Trump, Jesuit educated, who was called president-elect on this day 9 years ago. He'll be at the Commanders-Lions game. Washington, D.C.'s 56. Just remember, that's the Jesuit stronghold. I forgot to put it up here. I forgot to put the day span, but today's 56 days after the Pope's birthday. The Jesuits served the Pope. September 14th to the 30th would be 16 days. 31 days in October. 16 plus 31 is 47. Plus 9 more days, 56 days. So today's 56 days after the Pope's birthday. Pope has that gematria of 25, like Falcons. Again, today's game was tied up at 25-all with 25 seconds left on a drive that was a minute 19, a lot like November 9th, when Falcons is also 119, and so is Vatican, where the Pope resides. But you see how Pope has this 25 connection, 56 connection, and 11 connection, the master number. Today's got 11 date numerology for the record. Here we are in the 11th month. Typical NFL crap. There wasn't much time left as the Falcons took a late lead. The kickoff is returned to midfield, something that doesn't happen that often in the NFL, but it often happens when the game's almost over and they need one of these quick touchdowns at the end. And look how gimmicky the NFL is with late game scoring. The reason why is because the NFL is just sucking out money. And so are these casinos and gambling things that are all in bed together, and they all roads lead back to Rome. They're sucking out so much money from the fans because they're throwing out so many last-minute prop bets on these apps, and then they're just doing really goofy stuff at the end of the games to take advantage of the gamblers who don't see the rig for what it was. You know, as soon as we saw the touchdown, we said, oh, perfect. Now the Colts can come back down and tie it up at 25-all, the old Falcons number. And then we all laugh in real time. And for anyone who's doubting that this is the case, just watch this morning's Patreon live stream where we're all watching the game together. And then we're all laughing together as they tie it up at 25-all with 25 seconds left on a minute 19 long drive. Again, if you can't make that out here, minute 19 was the drive. And by the way, that's 79 seconds. We'll get to how Tagliabue equals 79 like Society of Jesus. Or here, we'll even cut to it early. Tagliabue. Or it's Paul Tagliabue, my bad. It's his full name. Paul Tagliabue, 79. Society of Jesus, 79. And 56. And remember, we're talking about Germany, right? Where Small Mustache Man was. His name's got the double overlap with Society of Jesus. Supposedly offed himself at age 56. When I was coming up in school, they would teach us that he offed himself, but his body was never found. I always just thought that was the dumbest story ever. I thought, well, how do you know he offed himself if his body was never found? Doesn't even make any sense. It's like these games don't make any sense if you have a brain. From Tagliabue's birthday to the death of the man he replaced, 235 days. The Society of Jesus, 235. The Society of Jesus also 91. And again, Tagliabue was replaced by Goodell on September 1st, 9-1. Today's 91 days before the Super Bowl. Again, it's the 36th anniversary of the fall of the Berlin Wall. The Jesuit logo has the letters IHS in it, which is 36 forwards, 45 in reverse. Today has a lesser date numerology of 45, Berlin Wall 45, like they called Trump 45th president-elect, who's also Jesuit educated, who went to Fordham in New York on this day 9 years ago. Keep in mind, 45 is the 9th triangular number. And then, yeah, look at Germany's flag until the Weimar Republic. It has a black bird in the middle of it. And technically, the Falcons were the winning bet today. They lost the game but covered the spread. They were a 6.5-point dog and lost by 6. Falcons won, or Colts win money line. But if you take the spread that Vegas offers, the 6.5, the Falcons, you could say, did win the bet. The blackbird in Germany that used to have the blackbird on the flag. And then just about today, you know, it's not very often in history a sitting president goes to an NFL game. Paul Tagliabue, 47 and 79. Trump, 47, 79 years old. Again, 79th element on the periodic table is gold. Trump says it's the golden era. Gold's price has just surged. And remember, gold doesn't really change in value. What's changing is the value of the dollar, which means the dollar's done horrible under Trump, just like everything else. It's amazing, all the fanboys for Trump. Oh, yeah, he's the savior. It's like, really? Because I remember the first time he was in office, the country was locked down. It was like a communist country. The government was in total control of what you could do, where you could go, what time you needed to be home. They were literally sending you stipends of little bits of money in the mail while they hyperinflated the dollar. All the dummies out there and say, well, that's just because the cooties thing happened. Yeah, that was a huge Jesuit ritual where everyone who was the face of it was a Jesuit and everything was 56. Everything. In case we need to quickly go back over that. Trump, it was 56 years after his Jesuit education began or ended in 1964. 2020 was 56 years later. Again, it started off with the big Soleimani ritual that year, too, where supposedly 56 people were stampeded after Trump had him executed. But there were so many 56s in 2020. It was ridiculous, including Gavin Newsom, whose name equals 56, who's Jesuit educated, said he's locking down the state because 56% are getting cooties in 8 weeks, which is 56 days. The point I'm trying to make right now is, again, all these little Jesuit puppets on the world stage, from Tagliabue to Trump, it's the same numbers following them everywhere. This man became commissioner on remember the 5th of November, the day leaving 56 days left the year, 4 days before the Berlin Wall fell. Keep in mind, 4 is associated with death. And now he's dead during the Berlin game where they rack up 56 points. You know what I mean? So, winning scores 31, the 11th prime numbers. So, yeah, just business as usual. Business as usual. And by the way, again, congrats to the winners. We had the Colts and Jonathan Taylor for 3 touchdowns today. The reason we like him for 3 touchdowns is because it was going to put him at 15 for the year versus Atlanta, a city that loves 15. Not only does Atlanta equal 15, it also equals 120, which is the 15th triangular number, meaning if you had 1 through 15, it equals 120. Number that's played very well for us for a very long time in rig sports. And Jonathan Taylor rushes for 3 rushing touchdowns. That was the game-winning score. Jonathan Taylor's 3rd rushing touchdown in the perfect script. Would have liked to see Michael Pittman get the 25th touchdown today. That number plays a lot with the Falcons as well. Like, the game got tied at 25 all with 25 seconds left, but Pittman did come up a little bit short. And funny enough, these are the only 2 teams in the league with a 15 connection, Colts and Falcons. Algier, the backup running back, got his 15th and his 16th touchdown today. But yeah, learn the gematria, see through the rig. And for anyone who ever tries to downplay this knowledge, just, you can know right there, that's the other benefit. Anyone trying to downplay this information, the problem is up here. Low IQ, cognitive dissonance, probably not someone you want to listen to in life. You know, what they say, separating the wheat from the chaff. That's what this knowledge literally does. All the dummies think this is some kind of coincidence week after week. And I mean, you got to be a special kind of dumb to think this is a coincidence week after week, especially when I'm showing you the same stuff day after day. All you guys crying about your rock star game, they're just playing with your emotions. They're playing with your emotions. They know that people are so invested in their video games, their fantasy stuff. It should be good news to you, because think about how much of your life are you going to waste upcoming once that video game comes out? How much time are you going to spend sitting on your ass playing this video game when you could be doing things productive, doing something to improve your health, your wealth, your living situation? There's a lot of things you could be doing with your time rather than sitting around playing video games. So, and remember, there's a cabal that wants you on your ass eating Doritos, playing video games too. You're not out there working. That's their gain. You're playing their game. That's their game. You're eating their junk food. That's their gain. Again, there's a people that want to control and do the controlling, and a lot of you are falling victim to it. They want you sitting on your ass watching these rigged games too. So anyway, yeah, RIP to everybody they took this past week. Little babies for the Dodgers, young Cowboys player, the former number one pick of the NHL draft, now Paul Tagliabue. I mean, say Tagliabue's lucky to have lived to 84 in this entertainment game, because a lot of people, they don't make it out of their 20s. So, but yeah, there it is. There it is. Another ritual telling you who really runs the show. And I'll remind, for all you guys who think it's the small hats that run the show, they don't. Think about how tiny the small hats are to the Catholic Church. You're not on the small hats calendar. They're not responsible for the English language. That's the Jesuits. You're on the Jesuits calendar. They're responsible for the English language as you know it. The English language oldest roots goes back to a Catholic monk. Again, in the end of the 16th century, calendar implemented, English alphabet standardized, system clearly synced up, where they've been executing this code ever since. And if you guys don't know this, 84 number is huge. The Catholic Church equals 84. The Jesuit Order equals 84. Jesuit 84. United States of America 84. The U.S. has had diplomatic relations with the Vatican since 84. George Orwell's 1984. George Orwell's first book, Burmese Days, the first number mentioned in that book is 56, interestingly enough. And hold on, what is it about Orwell? Is it George Orwell? At George Orwell's name even equals 56, as well as 70, which is the 56 composite number. But yeah, and by the way, the Jesuits do kind of have a small hat connection because several of the original founders were converts from that faith, which is why they brought over this knowledge of Kabbalah and Gematria. So there is a relation there, but again, it's important to get things right. And who runs the show are the Jesuits. Everybody promoting small hats. And look, most people say it's small hats. They all go back to the Rothschilds, this well-known publicized family where almost all the prominent members have also died in key Jesuit rituals with 201s all over the place. Again, there's a reason that so many people have this collective knowledge of the things they know, which are highly publicized and the same information's regurgitated all over. Guess what? It's almost all out there to mislead you. Look at the facts. You're on the Jesuits' calendar day after day. The biggest things in the world all point back to them. Like Cooties 19, where everybody talking to you about it on TV was Jesuit educated. The NFL, it's been the biggest thing in this country until video games recently surpassed it. And what's the biggest video game in the world? Oh, yeah, it's the Rockstar game. It's Grand Theft Auto, which has the 201 all over it. But yeah, the NFL, what do they play for? They play for the Lombardi Trophy. Who's Vince Lombardi? Oh, another Jesuit who died unexpectedly at Jesuit Georgetown, the same place Paul Tagliabue went to school, the same place where he sat on the board of Georgetown. So, and in case you forgot what they did to John Thompson, who again won the college championship in '84. Here, let me see it. Let me get it right. This was the day they dedicated the court after him. Maybe it was 66 weeks and 6 days later. Nice little 5-4 ritual. Yeah, it was 66 weeks and 6 days after his death that they did it. Georgetown became 5-4 like Jesuit order. Kobe Bean Bryant, 54 like Mark of the Beast. Had the 666 workout. Had his career high in his 666th game where he dropped 81. Kobe Bean Bryant, 54 and 81. Just like Mark of the Beast. These things aren't an accident. John Thompson also dead on a Sunday. He died at 78. And again, just same thing. Jesuit Sunday. Died on a date with 78 numerology. Won the championship in '84. First black coach to do so. You know what? Did I skip that? Tagliabue is 57, just like Georgetown. And don't forget, George Washington turned 57 years old. In 1789, the year that he became recognized as the first president. Or actually, he was inaugurated at age 57 a few months after Georgetown was established. And don't forget that John Carroll equals 54, just like Jesuit order. And John Carroll was 54 when he established Georgetown. And at their peak, the Jesuits had 54 universities in the U.S. Their logo's the sun. We know what they just did with Mom Donnie. Don't even get me started. Anyway. Yeah, we'll leave it there for now. Thanks again to everyone who hits the like and the share. Thank you to everyone who supports the work. And for all the skeptics, the only reason you're a skeptic is because you haven't paid any attention. Day after day, this work proves itself in spades. And also, congrats to the winners. Starting off the day with the bang. Following up 12-1 in the NHL. The damn Ducks kept us from 13-0. All right, True Seeker. Till next time.